Hi, welcome to the Jesmond Joggers Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Hyde, and today we've got the magnificent Kate Robson. Today we're quite literally going to dive in and talk about the benefits of sea dipping and how this can complement running. Kate, welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very well. I think just to get started, can you just give us an introduction about yourself, a bit of your background into how you got into running, when you joined Jesmond Joggers, and then if you want to touch on, your other hobbies as well, which I believe are cycling and sea dipping.
Yeah. So I'm Kate. I've been a member of Jesmond Joggers since 2016, I think. So a really long time. I started running just because I wanted to lose weight. I feel like quite a lot of people want to do that, and also to just improve my mental health, give us something to do. I went to and from work, sat at work all day, and didn't really do much else. So it was a lot of sitting around. So running really helped with my mental health and losing weight. And it just evolved. So then evolved into cycling, where I would just cycle to and from work because, again, sitting in an office all day, it was a nice break. And then after a while, it then kind of moved into from cycling to and from work. I'd go out with my boyfriend, who was a very keen cyclist as well, go further and further, sign up for events, just kind of the same way that running happens. You start running occasionally and then you sign up for loads of races. So yeah. And then there's also sea dipping as well, which, yeah.
Lovely. Before we dive into sea dipping, because I know that you are a stalwart of the sea dipping group, and for those who are new to the club or for those who haven't partook so far, there's a swimming / stand-up paddleboarding group, and this group is absolutely crazy. They are at Tynemouth, Cullercoats, or Whitney Bay at least a few times a week, doing cold water immersion and having a little dip. But just to get into the quick fire questions, I think these are going to be quite interesting because obviously you don't just run, you've got your other hobbies as well. So I'm interested to see what you answer to some of these. But the first one is running or cycling.
Cycling for the running podcast.
And then we're going to do this question two ways. So road running or trail running.
Trail running.
And then I know recently you've been doing gravel, so road cycling or gravel cycling.
Road cycling.
What's your favourite local running race?
Pier to pier.
Your favourite cycling route?
There's a loop to Corbridge, especially in the autumn because it's very, very orange and lovely when the leaves start to change.
I'm going to steal the route from your Strava and I'll link it.
Really nice.
I'll link it in the description for anyone who wants to have a look at it. Your favourite dip spot? It doesn't have to be the coast here.
Oh, but it is. Oh, I guess actually South Shields Beach is actually very nice as well. So between Tynemouth and South Shields is my favourite, sadly.
The dolphins go there.
Both. So they go between both. They go along the entire coast, I think. But yeah, you can see them in South Shields and Tynemouth.
I'm just unfortunate to have never seen them. But obviously, you're always with your flask. So best coffee at the coast as well.
Oh, Bessie's is a little. It's in South Shields. So she's got like a little van that she parks up on the seafront. She does lovely coffee and loads of really nice cakes and stuff as well.
Lovely. So just getting into the topic of sort of sea dipping, I guess probably the first question I want to ask you is, how do you balance the synergies of running, cycling, and sea dipping into your sort of weekly routine?
I feel like swimming's just kind of well, for the first part, we go so early. If we're going for sunrise, we've got the whole day. I get back home sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, which is like usually when I get up. So that's kind of easy to fit in. Running, I generally stick to just club nights and maybe a park run. I've not really done proper training for running for a long time. So no long distances or anything like that. So it's quite easy to fit that in. Um, and cycling is really hard actually because to get any benefit out of it, a lot of the time you have to go for like a couple of hours. I would say like 2 hours at least. I feel like if I go any less, I don't feel like I'm getting enough out of it. Um, but I really enjoy spinning classes as well, which might not be everybody's cup of tea because you're just on a stationary bike in a dark room. But I actually really enjoy it with all the flashing lights and high energy music. It's actually really fun, and I've found in the past that that's actually really helped with my cardio fitness anyway, because it's really high intensity and it's quite good to fit in when you don't have a lot of time because they're usually like 45 minutes to an hour rather than having to go out for 2-3 hours. So yeah.
Which spin classes do you usually do? Are you a member somewhere, or do you just try different classes?
I'm kind of trying different classes at the minute. So I've gone to Tribal Cycle for a while, which is where hot pod yoga is in Jesmond at the tennis club. Um, but it's not got anything else. Like it's just spinning, which it's brilliant. The instructors are really good. They put so much effort in every session. They're all like themed rides, and they're really good. But obviously I don't have a gym or anything, so I've started going to Nuffield Gym, giving that a try, and I've been going to their spinning sessions. But I feel like even though it's got the swimming pool and it's got a gym, I'm kind of tempted to go back to Tribal. They're really good.
I
Really good
think as
classes.
well, for those who aren't listening, I've not been, but I'm pretty sure when you say they're themed, they'll do like a very theatrical Taylor Swift themed spin
Yeah.
class. And is it run by two sisters?
There's two sisters who do normally do like Taylor Swift and stuff. Um, but there's a girl who does Thursday night sessions called Kylie, and she does like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all these. She did a pop punk one recently as well, which is well up my street. So, but yeah, they're dead good. There's loads of different instructors, loads of different like styles of teaching and stuff as well.
Yeah. I think the next question is, do you consider the activities you do to be separate, or do you think they complement each other?
I think that, I mean, I'm not sure about swimming, but I feel like cycling and running kind of complement each other. Um, I mean, to be fair for me, because I've done triathlon and stuff in the past, so they all really complement each other. I could be equally terrible at all three. Um, but yeah, I think cycling and running probably complement each other for me, and swimming's just kind of a nice to have.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I don't necessarily actually. I don't think running complements cycling, as in you're running with aid, you improving as a cyclist. But I do think cycling and cross training in that element transitions to running quite well. Just
Yeah,
because you're on the bike for such a long time, then when you go back and you do like your easy run, it's a lot easier to build the mileage.
yeah,
And I
it
think you
helps
obviously
with your
got
endurance.
legs. But I don't think run training would get you unreal at a 3 hour bike ride. Um, what are your most memorable moments in running, cycling, and sea dipping?
Oh well, the sea dipping with the dolphins coming into the bay while you're swimming's ridiculous when you're in the northeast of England. So dolphins and sunrises for the swimming. Um, oh, for running, I think a while ago I was doing quite a lot of training and I managed to get my half marathon time down from like almost 3 hours to an hour and 40, which is like my biggest achievement, I think, in general. um, so yeah, that was really good. That was just before I had surgery on my foot, so I kind of like built up to it, and it was like my final hurrah, which was it was great. And cycling, I think we did a coast to coast trip a lot across the Pyrenees in a week, which was like, I don't think I would ever imagine us doing that beforehand. Like it was about, I think we're definitely doing 100-kilometer days, but I think some of the days were even longer, and that's going up massive mountains and stuff. So that was something I never thought I'd do at that point. So I think that was, and then just going up mountains in the Pyrenees, never seen anything like that before. Going like climbing through cloud inversions to like massive mountains was just ridiculous, and I never thought I would do it. So I think that's my answer.
Yeah, I'm definitely jealous of the dolphins, and to go from was it close to 3 hours your half marathon time, and you've got that down to 1:40.
Yeah, over a long time. I think if I'd go from like being relatively fit, my half marathon time I think was like 2:15, 2:30 at a push. I might have been a little bit faster, but yeah, I think my Great North Run time when I first did it was like 2:45 or something.
That's a big gap though, a jump, and even over a long period of time, it just shows that, I guess, consistency over time and sticking with it, and like you said, sort of building up and having a last hurrah, just sort of putting a plan together can obviously make like a huge, a monumental difference. I think it's always really impressive when you see people just take like absolute chunks out of their time. And the Pyrenees, I've not had the luxury of cycling the Pyrenees. I'm terrible in mountains. I went up Alpe d'Huez. It was like the worst afternoon of my life.
Really? Oh, I love climbing.
I did I don't know if you've watched the Tour de France Unchained.
Yes, yeah, I have.
The one with Tom Pidcock going down like a madman.
Hmm.
I did that stage, and finishing on Alpe d'Huez in 34 degrees was just, it wasn't for me. It was
Oh,
so,
yeah, that's hot.
I was
Yeah.
absolutely besides myself. But I'd love on like a nice cool day, no rain, to go and see some of the mountains that are out there. I'm just terrible on the downhill.
I used to be bad on the downhill. It was I'm a bit better, especially alpine descents are a little bit like less technical, I think. Sometimes, I mean, the ones that we've done, I can't speak for all of them, um, but they're not like
Triple on
super.
the switchbacks.
Yeah, so you can kind of, but yeah, you get cramp in your. I get cramp in my hands because I'm going so slow, but I'm getting better.
Um, so are you able to introduce the listeners into sea dipping? It's obviously growing in popularity massively, especially in our area as well. Everyone at the coast has a dry rope now,
Yeah.
and everyone looks like they've just got out the sea. Whereas I think typically before it was just people walking along the coast. So yeah, just what it is, why it's grown in popularity.
Um, so what we do is generally go super early in the morning to get the sunrise. We go in just to our swimming costumes. I wear boots on because I get really cold feet and it really hurts. But yeah, quite a few. We just don't bother with gloves or boots. We just go straight in. Have a quick just breaststroke or whatever. Just some of us stand waist height. Don't really want to go in because obviously going in the sea is it's a little bit scary. You get a lot of horror stories about going in the sea. It's absolutely fine. But yeah, so there's no pressure. It's just go and enjoy being in the sea. It's lush. But yeah, I initially started out training for triathlon. I'd never swam open water before. I grew up at the beach. I grew up in South Shields, but I'd have my grandma was terrified of us going in the sea. She'd say I get swept away or the current's really bad. If it's a flat day, yeah, fine. Don't listen to I do listen to my gran. Like be cautious, but I think she kind of put the fear in us. So I'd never actually done sea swimming until I signed up for my first triathlon. I was like, oh, I have to give it a try. So I do my session in my wetsuit or with my cap on and my goggles, and then after a while, we'd like if whoever I was with at the time would started like shall we just go back in with my swimming costumes on and have a little bit of a dip, and we did, and honestly, that was the best part of my swim. It just there's something about going in, just in your swimming costume, get the cold water, have it. The sunrise obviously helps. It's very pretty. Um, I just, it's weird. I can't explain why it's so nice. I can't explain why I enjoy it so much. But yeah, there's something. It's kind of like I'm not meant to be doing this, and it's just great. Bit childish, I think.
Yeah. I think as well, there's a lot of, I guess, the science now in the literature. I don't know how much of it's true, how much of it's pseudoscience, but there's a lot of physical and mental benefits that are being sort of documented, and people obviously discuss those. I mean, like footballers, I think even if you look back to like 2004, the Newcastle United football team, there's photos of them just having ice baths in wheelie bins because our facilities weren't very good. And you've just got these overflowing wheelie bins with these really jacked, muscly footballers. So it's obviously been around like sport for a long time, and it's becoming more and more, I guess, prevalent. For me, I think, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember I hadn't been out with these before, and then I did. I'm sure I like put a really cringy message in the group chat in the afternoon, going, "I could take on the world." And
I mean, you do feel great
I've,
afterwards.
I've never been a morning person, and I think we'd got in at like 6:30, and I was thinking, God, by midday, I'm gonna like crash and burn, and my work's gonna just capitulate in the afternoon. I just kept looking at the clock, and I got like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I still feel alive. Got to 2 o'clock and was like, still alive. And then I think by like 4 o'clock, I just put a message. I feel like I could take on the world. And I just think that like it does actually really like physically like it wakes your body up,
Yeah.
and like you do feel sort of wired after it. And I do think it's better than like a cup of coffee or anything like that for being like cognitively alert.
It's just
Uh,
lush, yeah.
but I've noticed as well that, and you said you get really cold feet. If I've got like inflammation at a part of my body, that the cold affects that bit worse. So I went before and after a sports massage, and before, like around my shins and my calves, the
Yeah.
cold water was absolutely killing. It was agonizing, which isn't a very good sales pitch for coming and joining us. But then I'd been for a massage, and then I went in the next day, and there was absolutely no sort of like pain or inflammation in my
That's
shins and
weird.
my calves. I was thinking I must have just needed a sports massage.
Yeah.
Um, I guess as well. Do you know much about the scientific, physical, or mental benefits? I don't
No,
think.
only off what I do, like how it makes me feel. And it's hard to explain because you can tell people it's lovely to go throw yourself in the North Sea and everybody twists their face, and until you do it, it's like, yeah, it sounds awful. Like, especially when you're saying, "Oh well, actually, my feet actually kill when I go in the cold water." It's it's a hard sell, but if you go, I mean, taking photos, obviously, if we put photos in the group chats for the swimming of the sunrises and stuff, it kind of encourages people to go. But the going in the cold water bit, I don't. It's you can't really get people to do it. It's hard.
I think as well, probably the best way to explain it is like the first time is pretty brutal, and every time after that does get easier to the point where people won't have seen you, but you just dive in head first, quite literally.
Yeah.
No
Well,
hesitation.
we've had people like turn up and just go straight in, and we're kind of tiptoeing in, thinking that somebody will turn up for the first time and just run straight in. And like, I think Gemma Ramshaw did it. Like, she just turned up, went straight in the water, and we were still stood there going, "We do this almost all the time," and still take 5 minutes to get in the water. But yeah,
Yeah, I think Frank Morris did that as well.
yeah, madness.
Straight in, straight in, no bother, and I'm tiptoeing, namby-pamby, and screwing me up completely. But yeah, I think the sunrises or the sunsets, if it's like a nice summer evening, are obviously a really good reason to go. I think when you're saying probably getting in the cold or put people off, I do think probably you're just kind to yourself. and go in and go like shin deep, and maybe the next time go up to your waist. And then as soon as you sort of pass your chest, what you get is a very brief moment of breathlessness. But if you control your breath for the next 10 seconds, it's pretty fine and your body adapts so quickly to it. Um, and then, yeah, you stay in for what? I mean, probably 5 to 10 minutes when it's cold. And
Yeah, I
then
think so.
in the summer, you get away with having a longer paddle. Um, but I do think we're completely spoiled with, I guess, the coastline we've got here and like the different places you can go and dip. Obviously, Long Sands is really good. King Eddie's Bay is really good. But then if people are into like Drew Ridge Bay Park Run, if you go to Cresswell after, have a dip there,
Yeah,
that is unreal. And then go to the Drift Cafe after for really expensive cake.
yeah. You've always got to go for a coffee, and I guess anywhere you go next to the coast is going to be really expensive cake, to be fair.
There's a lot of that. And then I think the next thing I've noted down is, I get we've probably touched on a little bit, is what are the common fears of sea dipping? And then how would listeners, if they want to come and join, overcome these?
I think, well, the main one is the waves are quite scary, and riptides, and not really understanding that, I suppose. Um, but obviously we wouldn't go in if it was really, really wavy. But most of the time we'll be waist height. If it is wavy, we'll be in waist height. Um, and obviously there's no pressure. You don't have to go in. If you're frightened, there's no point, because you're not going to have a nice time if you're worried the whole time. But so there is that. There's the waves. There's the riptides. That I don't think are a huge problem if you're going swimming, because generally it'll be quite flat. But yeah, if there are waves, I think that's one of the fears. There's loads of stuff online about rip currents and how to spot them and stuff. But yeah, I don't want to say that they're not it's not a big deal, because it is, and obviously you've got all the safety stuff online about it as well. But most of the time we'll go when it's calm and they're not massive waves. Um, and then I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's just things touching you and you don't know what it is, and getting like tangled in, like, I don't know, seaweed or whatever. But that's not going to happen in time out. Things will touch your hands and your feet, but I mean, wear boots, wear gloves. No one's going to judge you. And if something does touch you, you get the heebie-jeebies and then get out. It's absolutely fine. Nobody's going to judge you. Well, we might laugh, but it's fine. It's happened to everybody. Um, yeah. Oh, and jellyfish, which aren't that bad. I've been stung by jellyfish before, and it's unpleasant, but it's not worth worrying about. They're just a bit gross, but they're fine. It's just like it's not even. I would say it's not. When I've been stung, it's not been as bad as a nettle sting, so I wouldn't worry about those. Um, but yeah, I think I'm kind of like blasé about it. There's probably a lot more things to be considerate about, but yeah.
I've not been stung by a jellyfish. I've been in the sea with someone who has been stung by a jellyfish. I'm gonna sound like a really horrible person, but it was quite funny.
I mean, they're disgusting. I was trying to convince Johnny, my boyfriend, to get involved. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like sea swimming. But I tried to get him involved, and we both went in our wetsuits, and I was like, "Look how brilliant this is! It's great!" Lifted my arm out of the water, and I had jellyfish tentacles like falling off my arm, and had stings. Like I had a wetsuit on, but I had a gap between my glove and my wetsuit, so I had like a sting, and they're just a bit gross, really. I think I squealed because there was a jellyfish on my arm more than the sting. But I had no idea it was there until I saw it, and then it kind of got worse as time got on. But it wasn't very painful. It was all right, just a bit gross.
No, I think thinking things under the sea, there's a phobia, isn't there? But I don't know what it's called.
Oh yeah, I can't think of what it's called, but yeah, it's like the fear of the abyss, huh?
Yeah, I've got a couple. It's like arachnophobia,
Yeah.
but for sea creatures. I've got a friend who's got that really bad and won't get in the sea, and I've tried to take him in as well. He just won't get in with me. And he just says like, "There's absolutely no way you'll ever catch me in the sea." But if you are listening, and you do feel like that, come down one morning, come out with us, and you'll see it's absolutely fine. Probably the next question is, all you really need is some swimmers and a bikini, really, or a swimsuit or anything like that. But what's your top tips for equipment? I know you like your shoes and gloves.
Yeah.
What other equipment do you think is would enhance the experience?
Obviously a dry robe. You can't have a dry robe to put on at the end when you're freezing cold. Don't worry about people judging you. You look great in a dry robe. Um, and also recently you can get I'm going to say change in mats. I sound like a baby, but you can get changed in mats to get changed on the beach with that have like the dry robe fleece on them and they're waterproof underneath, which keep your feet a lot warmer. I think when it gets cold, because we'll go through the winter and stuff as well. So when the temperatures out the water are colder, getting changed is awful. Being in the water, it's fine. Getting changed with your feet in the sand is freezing. So having something to get changed on, definitely. And there's quite a few of where bring hot water bottles. So when you get changed afterwards, you can put a hot water bottle in your coat to keep you warm, which is really good. And then obviously a hot drink, probably a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate for afterwards as well. It's all about when you get in the water, yeah, all you need is a swim costume and your boots and gloves if you want them, but it's all about the stuff that you have for afterwards when you want to wrap up warm.
Yeah, it's definitely the logistics, and you're gonna get sand in places where you don't really want sand, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, there's just sand everywhere now.
I think mine would be before a dry robe, get a towel, get a dry towel, then get changed, then get the dry robe on, so
Yeah.
you're not sitting in damp, but equally, and also, there's no polite way of putting it. If you're a bloke and you've got a towel and you wrap it around your waist and it's windy or something, it basically stops your bits flying out for the general public and the other people in your way.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, like a poncho towel, like you
Yeah,
used to have when you go swimming as a kid.
so
They're really good.
we'll put a link to one of them in the description as well. Then my only other tip on top of that, you write with a flask, you write with your dry and stand or whatever. So that stops you getting or helps prevent you getting sand everywhere in your bag and in your clothes. The other one is when you drive to the beach, crank the heating up in your
Yeah.
car to the max. So when you get back in your car, it's still a little bit warm and toasty, and it helps the warming back up process. Um, what other questions do I have? Probably the final one, and I guess is, can you explain a bit about the impact of I guess, like the social aspects of it and the community element? Because there's quite a close knit group, isn't there? Between 5 and 10 frequent dippers, and then some peripheral dippers. But I always say it's my favorite chat.
Yeah.
In the Jesmond Joggers WhatsApps. It definitely caters to like the things that I like to do, but I do think as well there's such a good group who get together and always have good conversations and whatnot. So just what impact that's had on you as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, for a while now, I've struggled to get out running consistently. I've just been injured almost all the time at the moment.
Sounds familiar.
So having because cycling's great, but it's not for everyone, so it's hard to get, and also it's so time consuming that it's hard to get people out. Whereas running and swimming, you can go out for an hour. Well, I wouldn't recommend going swimming in the sea for an hour, but you do what you want. But you can go, you can go out for a run for an hour, have a lovely chat with someone, and it doesn't impact, like it doesn't impede on your day that much. But obviously, because I haven't been able to do that for quite a while, being able to just go out you end up out for about an hour anyway. You'll be in the water for 5 or 10 minutes, but you'll be around the beach for about an hour, half an hour, just having a chat with everybody. You always have a chat while you're getting changed, when you're swimming, in between, just being in awe of the beach and the sunrises. You have few little conversations in between. And yeah, it's really nice. And it is a really lovely group at the moment that's going out, and you'll get a few other people coming along. But yeah, there's about, how many did you say? Like between 5 and 10
Mine was
regulars.
5 to 10 full regulars.
Yeah, and it's a really nice group.
And then up to 20 who just randomly appear on the occasion, then you might never see them again. Or
We got a big turnout for the solstice swim. I think, was it this year? There was loads of people at 4 o'clock in the morning to go for a swim. But yeah.
How many do you think there was? There's
Oh,
definitely over 10. Was there 15?
I can't remember, but I know it was a big turnout, considering, it would go really early quite often, but this was like 4 o'clock in the morning. There was loads of people turned up. It was great.
Yeah, I think we should try and break 20 next year. So if you are listening, summer solstice, 2025. Some people are crazy enough that they go in the morning and at night. Was that you?
Yeah.
Might be new. And then probably just to end on, another thing that we probably plan to do next year is we went to a lovely man-made lake that is free from algae. So if you're not keen on the sea, I think there's massive potential for a big, and I'll pass this to the social secretary, a big JJ's day out at Poolbridge Farm.
Mhm.
And there, if we got the day right, you'd have sunbathing, you'd have these amazing lakes, there's a sauna, there's jetties that you can cannonball off, but no one's that childish.
Not at all.
So I think based on what we experienced this year, that would definitely have potential for like a mega more organized planned day out with loads of people.
Yeah, definitely. It did. It's got a really nice cafe. The pizza was great. Yeah, it was good.
So just to wind up the podcast and keep it in fashion with how the other episodes have all went, is if you could give one nugget of running, cycling advice to the listeners, what would it be and why?
Oh, I feel like with running, don't stretch, because it's so annoying when you can't run anymore, and you injure yourself. So, and don't do too much too soon. So I think, I tend to get a bit too overexcited, and I end up doing too many miles without building up to it, and that's what ends up getting us injured. So I would say stretch, as annoying as it is, and try really hard not to get too excited and do too many miles all at once, unless you're dead young and you can get away with it. I can't anymore. And yeah, I feel like that's the only bit now, because I can't think of anything else. I can't think of anything for cycling.
I think the same applies, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I guess don't worry about, like, obviously with cycling, like, do what you're comfortable. If you're nervous about going out in, like, on the roads, obviously it can be quite nerve-wracking with the cars and stuff. I wouldn't I used to worry about that you can go out earlier to miss some of the cars and stuff like that. But yeah, for cycling, it's quite hard. It's probably the same. Don't do too much too soon.
That's amazing. And I think really good piece of advice there. Definitely not doing too much too soon. I think they say increase your intensity or your mileage by only 10% a week, and don't break that.
Yeah, because it's easy to get carried away.
There's very, very few people who can get away with just increasing at an exponential rate. But thank you so much for joining, and thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having us.